Is Will Wade the guy to lead Vandy basketball back into March Madness? You might want to buckle up for this one. Here we go.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton, a former Rivals employee and high school football coach here. On today's episode, we're going to explore why Will Wade would be the perfect hire for Vandy men's basketball. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. Now, I'm back from the beach. That's the good news, okay? And last time I saw you, we were talking about some candidates and talking about Jerry Stackhouse being like, oh, well, since I've been home from the weekend, I've noticed that Will Wade is linked to the Vandy job. Nashville native. Not sure how it's going to play out. He's linked probably for every job in the country, rightfully so. But he is exactly what Vanderbilt needs. And this situation is a perfect fit for him as well. He is the guy. So he's got his McNeese State team in the tournament with a first-round matchup against Gonzaga. And if you don't know anything about McNeese State basketball, don't worry, not many of us do. But he has got the former Southland Conference doormat, I should say. He's got them now into the NCAA tournament. They were 11-23 last season and has not been above 500 since 2011. And they haven't made the tournament in 21 years before Will Wade got there. But Will Wade takes over, and lo and behold, they're in this. Long story short, they're in the NCAA tournament. So that alone, I could just stop the show right there. That alone should tell you that Will Wade is right for this situation, because Vandy has lost some guys in the portal. Jason Rivera-Torres says he plans on entering the portal. And there's probably going to be some other defections as well as they come. But that's to be expected with the way things are going and how the portal works and how coaching changes works and things like that. So I'm not surprised by these guys entering the portal, but if Will Wade lands in Nashville, which is a good possibility, he's from Nashville, this would be a perfect time to come home, get back in the SEC. I mean, all the chips line up. If he can get back into Nashville, get to Vanderbilt, these guys would probably come back out of the portal if they don't sign somewhere else. These guys would probably come back out of the portal and say, hey, we're good. We're in, right? Because Will Wade has that kind of effect, right? And he comes in with a lot of energy, okay? He has a 196 and 96 overall record in his 9 years as a head coach coming into this season at LSU, VCU, and Chattanooga. He's a recruiter, man. This guy comes in and he just comes in a million miles an hour. His players play hard for him, and everything you like about a head coach, except for the trouble, everything you like about a head coach as far as getting guys to buy in, kicking butt on the recruiting trail, scheme, program stability, energy in the community, all of that is absolutely outstanding. And he's a winner, man. And that's simply put, despite all the trouble that he got into, he gets it done on the court. and he's learned from some of the best. He learned it. He learned at Clemson. He is, he spent time at VCU under Shaka Smart. I mean, he's got a reputation. He's kind of rose through the ranks there. He's been at Chattanooga, and he's been at VCU, back to VCU, and then LSU most recently, and McNeese State. So, I mean, the guy's got some pedigree, man, and the guy just gets it done. And watching his team today, or actually as I record this on a St. Patty's Day, you can't pinch me, I'm wearing green, as they won the Southland Trophy, the Southland Conference Championship today to get a berth into the NCAA tournament, you just notice how hard those guys play, how smart those guys play, the shots they were putting up, the ball movement, the aggressiveness, the just overall emotion. Cameron Shoemate, basically the Lone Ranger from last year's McNeese State team, came over and just gave Will Wade a big bear hug. So that speaks to the relationships that he builds, and that's an important part of his foundation. All right. But all that to say, yeah, he's a great coach. But let's address the elephant in the room, okay? Because that's the biggest thing. The elephant in the room, obviously, is the show cause and the trouble. And he is it's you have to address it, But I think it shouldn't keep him out. I don't think it's going to keep him out of any other job. Now, Vandy is known for like not wanting to have stress in a hire, not wanting to have baggage. Like that's a big thing with coaches. I think that's probably what would have stopped him from hiring, say, Bruce Pearl if they were looking, or things like that. Like they may have shied away in the past with all this baggage, but I honestly think that he's put it past him. The recruiting violations, the bribery stuff, all of the dirty Wild West basketball things that happened that he got busted for and in trouble for, all of that is behind him. He served his 10-game suspension. He is in the middle of his show cause, which means he can't go out and recruit, but he can obviously coach, and he can obviously do everything else basketball-wise now. He sat out a year for this. I mean, he sat out a full year, didn't return to coaching until this past season, sat out the 21-22 season, I believe. With basketball, I get the numbers mixed. No, the 22-23 season, because he came in 23, played 23-24 season. So yeah, he sat out last season, and he's done his time. He came back in. It's not like he came back in at a major Power 6 job. I mean, he drops in at McNeese State, and he drops in a state that he is very familiar with. And McNeese is a program that lies within that state, but nonetheless, it ain't like he's dropping into the ACC. It ain't like he's dropping into the Big Ten. He dropped into the Southland Conference, into a team that has been downright abysmal within that conference. Not much to show in basketball in the last 21 years. Been pretty bad, and an average season was trophy worthy for that program. In just 1 year's time, he's got him as Southland Conference champions into the NCAA tournament. So that goes to show you just the difference that he can make. And again, no one else is going to. I don't think it's going to be a problem, right? He had again, it's pretty much behind him. It's kind of a non-issue now. And if you really want to do a case study, just look at how the NCAA just look at how they handled Kelvin Sampson, and look at what Houston did with that. They Houston just let him serve his 5-year show cause penalty. This is Kelvin Sampson, and it wasn't a problem. And he's taken Houston to Elite Eight, a Final Four. He's won a lot there. It's been one of the top programs for several years now. And the Cougars are number one team in the country. Like they have been under Kelvin Sampson since he's gotten there. As the time wore on, as the show cause wore down and wore out, it did not matter. So it shouldn't matter for Will Wade. He's serving an even lesser show cause than Kelvin Sampson did. He's done a suspension. He's got 1 more year left on his show cause where he can't actually actively go out and recruit. But there's a new facility on the way at Vanderbilt, new basketball operations facility. You're dedicating a ton of NIL to a recruiting effort, and Memorial Gym is one of the unique places to play in all of college basketball. And he is the person that can revive what Vandy Nation likes to call Memorial Magic. So we'll talk about recruiting NIL stuff and what he can do with that here in just a second. Stay tuned. All right, here we are. We are brought to you by Nissan. That is right, man. Nissan. So this week's March Madness bracket highlight is brought to you by our friends at Nissan. Each week, we're picking one team that stands out, a team that's pushed further than the rest, just like any and all of the new 2024 Nissan SUVs. These guys were able to take it to the next level. The aforementioned Houston Cougars, so they can only be described as an Armada, driven by Kelvin Sampson. This top-seeded team is as hardcore as it gets out there, so it's no wonder they're expected to land a top seed in the tournament after their first season in the Big 12. Vandy, I hope you're listening to that. Same situation. The Tennessee Vols can only be described as a Pathfinder. They've been thrilling to watch and really created a lane for themselves after claiming the top spot in the SEC. Player of the Year candidate Dalton Connect has carried the Vols all season and made them a team to watch in March, despite getting an early exit in the SEC tournament. The Utah State Aggies are obviously this week's Nissan Rogue. The team absolutely surprised us all with powerful performance against New Mexico State, giving their first outright Mountain West title in program history. They say, win life, go Rogue. That's exactly what the Aggies have done here. And the Cowboys of McNeese State are also a Nissan Rogue. They have a rogue head coach, and they're tough, and they've won their first outright Southland Conference title, not in program history, but in a really long time. There you go. So take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop Nissan USA. Also, Amazon Fire TV. Fire TV is your destination for sports, live games, to highlights, to in-depth analysis. Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs, as well as the Fire TV stick that you can plug into your existing TV that provides access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free and live TV. Whether it's an opening weekend for baseball or March Madness, you're going to want to have a Fire TV. So Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. That includes all of us at Locked On and most of the big pro leagues and college conferences as well. Fire TV channels let you dive in to all the game analysis, highlights, and more to keep up to date on all the latest in the world of sports, March Madness, NBA, MLB, and lots more. Not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, cooking videos as well. So check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me on this. To learn more, visit www.amazon.com/lockedonfiretv. All right, welcome back. It is segment number 2 This is the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Speaking of Locked On, the Locked On College Basketball Bracket Breakdown show is now available on the Locked On College Basketball podcast. Experts Andy Patton and Isaac Shade will break down their brackets and discuss everything you need to know to fill out a winning bracket and prepare for this year's NCAA tournament. Find the Locked On Bracket Breakdown now on the Locked On College Basketball podcast, wherever you get your podcast. Thank you, everydayers. Also, I want to thank you guys. Follow us on social media. Make sure you give us that follow at Locked On Vandy on all social media platforms, as well as my own personal X account at Coach Burton 36. So thank you again, everydayers, for making all of this possible. So, talking about Will Wade, I think he'd be the perfect candidate. And I said Friday, Shaka Smart, and I still think Shaka Smart would be great. I think if you hire Will Wade, Shaka Smart, you're in great shape. But Will Wade should be the first call. Why? Well, he's a Nashville native, first of all. He was jettisoned from the SEC at LSU. But he would love to get back in the SEC. And I'm sure, being from Nashville, Vanderbilt would not be a bad option if they're willing to pay him. Okay? So to recap, McNeese State, he takes over after sitting out a year, and he's still serving his show cause. After a 10-game suspension, they won 23 games and are now in the tournament as Southland Conference champions. They square off against Gonzaga. So if you want to see how they do against Gonzaga, I don't know that I would pick them to beat Gonzaga, perchance, but I also would say this one's going to be a challenge for Gonzaga because his guys play really, really hard. So now, a lot of this is due to the relationships that he's built on the roster from day one, the intensity that he coaches with, the playing style, recruiting, like his emphasis on getting quality basketball players to fit what he wants to do in a basketball program makes him what he is and leads to the success that he's had at everywhere that he's been. So it is, he comes in and he's perfect for situations like this because he's not going to come in and just be glad to be here and say, okay, hey, I'm happy to be here. I'm here at Vanderbilt. I imagine his opening press conference is going to go something like this. Well, hey, this is a story program with a unique venue. We're not going to be happy with making conference tournaments and going, okay, well, we're happy with the quarterfinal bid. No, we're going to hang banners. We're going to get banners as fast and as many as we possibly can. If there's a banner for it, we're going to get it. And that means winning. So he is he's not gonna accept mediocrity. He's going to push, right? And Vanderbilt showed on the football side, they're willing to now engage heavily, not only in upgrading facilities, but NIL as well. And they're going to dedicate a bunch of NIL money. They've done it for baseball. They're doing it for football now, which is why Clark Lee was so active in the transfer portal, and they're going to do it in basketball, which means all the stuff that he got in trouble for the most part, some of the stuff will never be legal, but for the most part, it's all legal now. Like the paying of players, you can do that now. That's legal. It's called NIL. And, there's a whole way you got to go about it, but the act of like paying, you don't have to pay these guys under the table. You can arrange that. So he was at LSU for 5 years, right? And he's consistent, relentless, tough, and really just the energy that he put into that program is really what made it very, very good. So he had an SEC Conference regular season championship in 2019. He made the postseason tournaments in 4 of his seasons, including 3 March Madness big dances in a row, 19, 21, and 22. His last season at the 21-22 season, the 2021 season, and which is the first season after COVID, and then the season right before COVID, where I think everything came to a screeching halt. But he advanced to the SEC Tournament Championship game for the first time since 1993. He won 48 games in his last 4 seasons there, tied for second most of any team over that period. They won 20 or more games in 3 of his 5 seasons, finished with a record of 105-51. He finished 55-33 in the SEC. That's taking over a team that was absolutely abysmal when he showed up. So there was some transition there. The way I would describe his basketball is exciting. It's not quite as up tempo and in your face pressure, full court pressure, running gunning like Bucky McMillan or Shaka Smart, but the fundamentals are there. The toughness is there. I think the biggest part, and this is what Vandy lacked. These are the 2 things that Vandy lacked the most, I think. And I think they would benefit from with their personnel right now to be a run and gun team. But I think if you're gonna look at this Vandy team right now, if you were to just drop in and say, okay, here's your roster, I think he could win right now just getting the guys to communicate and shoot better. And you notice his teams were really good at shooting. And he's an analytics guy. He's going to know situations and tendencies, and so he's going to incorporate those into practice so that the guys see them. I don't know how much of that Jerry Stackhouse did. I think he was just trying to get his guys a style of basketball, which I don't know that the communication was always there. Will Wade focuses on that, and that's part of his relationship stuff, which I don't think Stack had. And the recruiting, the things he does in recruiting also tends to kind of breed into the overall culture that he's going to have in his program once the guys get there. So analytics, shooting, things like that will make these Will Wade teams extremely lethal. So just know that the brand of basketball you're going to get is a more organized, more communicative, more disciplined, and physical teams, right? They're not going to be fast paced as some of these other guys that I think would be also good fits. But he's going to bring a lot of energy. And say what you want to say about his past allegations and his past, warts or whatever you want to say. Those are over and done with. And Vandy needs some excitement, and they're going to get it. They need some. Memorial Gym needs that, and they're going to get it. So we're going to wrap up the show here. Some cool things happening in Vandy athletics. So it's going to be cool. So stick around. All right, LinkedIn. That's right, LinkedIn. So when you're hiring for a small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. So LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all of that while making the process easy and intuitive. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Wow. That's a stat right there. Speaking of stats and analytics, maybe Vandy will be one of the 86% of, they're not really a small business, but maybe they can get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. And if they listen to the show, hint, hint. All right. I digress. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process easier. They even just launched a feature that helps rewrite job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. 2.5 million small businesses, use LinkedIn for hiring. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, welcome back. Third and final segment. We're going to wrap up the show here. We got a few minutes left. So, Will Wade, we were talking about Will Wade. He is a perfect candidate. I'm going to wrap this thing up by saying that Will Wade, being from Nashville, he has 9 seasons as head coach experience. He's got 196 wins, almost 200. He has won everywhere he's been. He brought McNeese State out of the gutter into the tournament. He brings energy, fire. He's gonna be involved with. He's the guy you want recruiting when you have brand new facilities on the way. He's the guy you want recruiting when you've decided to participate in NIL. He's the guy you want leading the team in Memorial, and he's the guy that's going to get the fans back involved, so where it's not Rocky Top at full blast like it was this season. It's not a Big Blue takeover. It's Memorial magic, and he's going to bring that in spades. So Will Wade is the guy. If you're Candace Storey-Lee, you make a call to Will Wade. You make him tell you no, because he's linked to other jobs. Oklahoma State, Ohio State, Louisville, Kansas State. Forget about it. Arkansas. Forget about it. He's a Nashville native. Bring him home. Okay? That's got to be your answer. You want to make a splash? That's what you do. You hire Will Wade. And if you make him tell him no, then when he tells you no, just move on down the list. Then make Shaka Smart tell you no. Okay? No? All right. Make, just on down the list. And we'll talk about that list. There's a list. He's not the only guy, but he's the first guy. Right? So there you go. Will Wade, perfect candidate. So before we go, though, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the women's team. They got a bid into the NCAA tournament for the beginning part of the season. Thought they were going to be a lock. Then it got bleak there. Then they were out. Then they were like first 4 in or last 4 out, and they kind of bounced between that list back and forth throughout the course of the season. Well, they were last 4 in. They come in as a 12 seed, and they will partake in a play-in game against Columbia. So they win that, and then they'll march into the bracket. So they got 1 extra game to play. So they'll be rocking and rolling with that. So excited about that. This will be a fun opportunity for the women's team. They will face Baylor upon winning, and they'll be playing in Blacksburg, Virginia, as Virginia Tech is the host team. So this will be exciting for Shea Ralph, and this is fun. Congrats to the Vandy women's team. They well-earned, well-deserved spot in the NCAA tournament. So lastly, and this is certainly not least, but this is one of those things that unfortunately got buried with Jerry Stackhouse getting fired and now talking candidates and coaching search and things like that. This kind of got pushed back a little bit, so I'm going to mention it real quick. The Vandyboys, they're balling, dude. They're balling. And they sweep Auburn in the series opener. Auburn is the 18th ranked team in the country in baseball. And the Vandyboys just said, yeah, we're going to sweep you. And so it was great. They had a 9-6 win today. They ruled Auburn on Friday. The bats were flying. Pitchers were dueling. Carter Holton was dealing. Devin Futrell was dealing. I mean, it's just everything about this Vandyboys team. They're starting to heat up at the right moment. They're starting to find their groove a little bit. I know it took a minute to launch, but that's why that's why you play the non-conference slate, and that's why you test some things out lineup wise. And well, they're starting to figure some things out. So the lineup on Sunday featured featured RJ Austin at first, Davis Diaz, Espinal, Bolger got a DH spot, Troy LaNeve, Matthew Polk is somebody that's been getting more and more playing time in the outfield. He's kind of solidified his spot. Calvin Hewitt kind of taken over in center field, and Jonathan Vastine in shortstop. So as of right now, Canman Kozel is still out. He's been dealing with some illness and some beat upness. So he's been out of the lineup a little bit. Certainly not for lack of performance. And then Andrew Dukanich is still awaiting he's still out, but he's still awaiting like his more details on his future as well. So I mean, I can't really highlight one guy because, well, let's face it, this entire freaking lineup just hit and hit some more, and they were absolutely brilliant, man. And this team is starting to be that team that we knew that they could be, and they're starting to kind of get back to their roots a little bit. Espinal went 4 for 4 on St. Patty's Day, 2 walks, a double, drove in 4, scored 1 himself. He's starting to become a force behind the plate, and I'm here for it. That's for dang sure. So, but I'm going to leave you guys with that. This has been a fun episode, right? So the things you need to take away: Will Wade, he's a dude, and prove that his trouble is not going to follow him too much, and he's not going to be, he's a dude. He's the guy. Should be the guy. He's going to be the guy somewhere. Why not make it his hometown team, right? So, women's team, congrats. Good luck in the tournament. And Vandyboys continue to freaking roll, man. So that's going to do it here for us at the Locked On Vandy podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. Make sure you check on Locked On SEC for them to talk about the SEC teams in the NCAA tournament and beyond. Spring practices rolling up, getting cranked up and fired up. And then listen to the Locked On College Basketball podcast for their bracket breakdown as well. And we'll see you back here tomorrow. Hope you start your week off great. And as always, anchor down.